No,
Looks
there
like
it is.
There it goes.
I spoke 2 seconds too soon. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the meeting of the Mayor and Council of Princeton, New Jersey. It is July 25th, 2022. Madam Clerk, could we start with the meeting notice, please?
Yes, Mayor. Notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act and state regulations governing remote public meetings, including the time, date, and location of the meeting, and clear and concise instructions to the public for accessing the meeting and making comments. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on the Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Perrone-Lambros?
Here.
Ms. Niedergang?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Fraga?
Here.
Ms. Sachs?
Here.
Mr. Newland?
Here.
Mayor Frida?
Here. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we'll start with announcements and reports. Do we have council members that have announcements or reports they want? Eve?
I have a few items regarding the library. So the summer reading program for adults and children continues through August 15th. So if you haven't signed up for that yet, please do so. There are lots of neat gifts and other ways to participate. The library is also hosting Dancing Under the Stars on August 4, 19, 26, September 9 and 23 on Heinz Plaza. So you can come get a dance lesson and enjoy yourself out on the plaza after dining somewhere in town, of course, right? Eat local. And then a couple of events that will be back in person. The Children's Book Festival it will be Saturday, October 8th from 11 to 4 p.m. and that's on Heinz Plaza. And that's a great opportunity to meet your favorite children's authors. And the Friends and Foundation fundraiser is the following Saturday, October 15th at Brick Farm Tavern in Hopewell. And the subject of the speaker will be focusing on the history of the cocktail. So anyway, mark your calendars and please join the library for some of these events. All right, that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Eve. Other, Michelle?
Thank you, Mayor. A couple things. So one is that recently the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives passed H.R. 8294 appropriations bill supporting New Jersey families, creating good paying jobs and protecting New Jerseyans' health and well-being. And I bring this up because included in this bill is an allocation of $750,000 towards our Princeton project, the Witherspoon Street Phase 2 Improvement Project. Witherspoon Phase 2 is slated for construction, hopefully next year in 2023, and runs from Green Street to Henry Avenue. Phase 2 includes enhanced pedestrian and bike improvements, traffic calming measures, new paving and plantings. So we are pursuing a great many different grant opportunities at all levels of government, but we are very grateful to the support from Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman and her office for this important project in our historic Witherspoon Jackson district. I wanted to bring that up. And speaking of Witherspoon Street, our staff is working together with the university staff on a signage campaign to better inform residents and visitors about the construction project on Witherspoon Street, which is currently underway, as we all know, between Nassau and Green Street. So signs will be up soon. They are branded Making Witherspoon. There'll be a QR code on them, which will connect those interested for more information to the design renderings and descriptions online. So we are also working in conjunction with the Princeton Merchants Association and the newly formed Princeton Business Partnership to create signage for parking during construction so that we can better manage traffic flow in the central business district. So this signage will tie together with the fall campaign called Pop Into Princeton. So we're calling this Pop Into Parking. So we're hoping to better manage traffic flow by directing traffic directly to garages and parking lots and avoiding cars circling for the perfect parking space to their destination on the street. So look for those signs coming up. And we're extremely grateful for all the help and support from the university, community outreach staff, the Merchants Association, and the new Princeton Business Partnership. Their boards are working closely with our staff and supporting these efforts with their time and funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. David.
Just a very brief announcement. I don't know if anyone's going to speak in more detail about Community Night Out, which is happening on August 2nd. But I just wanted to, from the Pedestrian and Bike Advisory Committee's perspective, mention that there will be valet bike parking available at that event. So please ride your bikes.
Game changer, game changer. Thanks, David. Other council announcements or reports? Bernie, you had an item?
I did. Thank you, Mayor. Some of you may have seen the report that was issued earlier this month by the Office of the State Comptroller. They looked at and reviewed the sick and vacation leave policies of 60 municipalities in the state relative to the 2007 and 2010 reforms. The 60 municipalities included 3 in Mercer County, but did not include Princeton. As a result of that, we have looked at our internal policies relative to sick and vacation leave payouts, and I am happy to let everyone know Princeton does not pay accrued but unused sick time, whether that be an end of the year payment or at separation from the municipality. We simply don't do it. It's not in any contracts and it's not in our personnel manual. We also do not allow carryover greater than 1 year of vacation. And that's one of the other things that the state had looked at. So we will be looking at our contracts and our personnel manual just to see if there's any other aspects of this that we need to take a look at. But otherwise, we have no problems with our sick leave and our vacation leave policies here in the municipality.
Thank you, Bernie.
Sure.
I have 2 items. In the consent agenda, number 16, and the consent agenda, there's a typo. It says $13,717.54. It should actually be $3,717.54. So just note that correction for when we get to there. And then also I've been asked to read a letter that our assistant municipal engineer sent to the Traffic Safety Committee, in which the Traffic Safety Committee then asked if I would be so kind as to read it. And the topic is, is one that we need to take seriously. It's titled "Dangerous Driver Behavior," and I've witnessed some of this myself, especially on Chambers Street. But let me read the letter, and hopefully in the audience, the people that don't do this will just shake their heads, and the people that do it will hopefully reflect and stop behaving this way. So anyway, as we all know, there is a lot of construction taking place in Princeton, with the major work on Witherspoon Street, the Graduate Hotel, and Rosedale Road Roundabout being performed simultaneously. Traffic patterns have changed and traffic control has become a daily issue. We have noticed irresponsible driver behavior over the last few months in all of the areas where work is being performed that has become very dangerous to motorists, pedestrians, bicyclists, and the construction workers. We would like to bring this to the attention of council as a report from the Traffic Safety Committee and request that Councilman Cohen provide this. Well, anyway, sorry. So David, let me do this. So anyway, the mayor's reading it. The public should be reminded that both Chambers Street and Witherspoon Street are one-way northbound. Witherspoon Street has a stop condition at the crosswalk at Spring Street. Motorists routinely ignore the stop signs. There are 2 of them there. You have to stop going in both directions when you come to Spring Street, and put pedestrians crossing the street at risk. Chambers Street is a one-way northbound going away from Nassau through the work zone. It is open to 2-way traffic up to 16 chambers below the work zone for the Graduate Hotel, specifically so those who need access to this Chambers Street parking garage and 22 Chambers Street can do so. There is no need for anyone else to travel south on Chambers Street past Hellfish Street, because there's really nowhere to go if you're not going to the garage or 22 Chambers. Significant signage is in place to alert motorists that the road is closed to through traffic and only open for the parking garage and local traffic. The Rosedale Road Roundabout project is a construction project being performed by Mercer County. Rosedale Road has been closed to through traffic for 3 weeks. This closure has been affected by placement of movable barriers, cones, and barrels. This soft closure was done at the request of Princeton in order to allow emergency vehicles to travel through the construction area when necessary. Unfortunately, motorists have routinely ignored the signs, barricades, barrels, and cones, not only when construction is not active, but even when construction activity is occurring. Traveling through the construction zone is dangerous for motorists at any time, and especially dangerous for construction workers and the motorist when the construction is occurring. Consequently, the county has now erected a hard closure on Rosedale Road with concrete barriers just west of Preservation Place and water-filled plastic barriers between the construction zone and the bridge over Stony Brook. The plastic barriers will be in place at night and on weekends to deter motorists from traveling through the work zone, but will allow emergency services to access the school if necessary. They will not be in place during the day from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. in order to allow access to Greenway Meadows and Johnson Park School. Some examples of driver behavior and messages to them follow. To the driver of the black Tesla who last month got out of his car to move a barricade so he could park on Chambers Street, that is not okay. To the drivers who failed to stop at the stop signs on Witherspoon Street and failed to look for pedestrians, that is not okay. To the drivers who decide that the one-way section of Chambers Street is optional and that it is safe to drive in the wrong direction, that is not okay. To the drivers who also decide the one-way section of Chambers Street is okay to drive through, to cut through to John Street Alley and then drive up the wrong way on the John Street Alley, that is not okay. That is extremely dangerous. At the top of that alley, there's no way you're going to see the pedestrians about to step onto that sidewalk. To the driver on Rosedale Road who got out of his car on Friday, July 15th, to move barricades so he could drive through the construction zone, that is not okay. To the drivers who followed him because the barricades were just moved out of the way, even though there were still 4 signs and other barricades indicating the road was closed, that is not okay. To the 4 drivers who drove through the Rosedale Road construction zone during construction last Tuesday, putting their lives and the lives of the construction workers at risk, that is not okay. To the driver of the black BMW who drove off Rosedale Road onto the grass to get around the barricades while construction was still underway last Tuesday, and who made an obscene gesture to the assistant municipal engineer as you passed, that is especially not okay. I mean, really? To all the drivers who ignored road closed signs and drive through the construction zones at any time, that is not okay. To the many more members of the public who do pay attention to the construction signs and who do drive responsibly and safely, keeping yourselves, our residents and visitors, and the construction workers safe, thank you. Thank you very much. So if you're one of the knuckleheads, or you know one of the knuckleheads, please encourage them to drive responsibly. Jim, thanks for the letter. Okay, anything else under announcements and reports? All right, now we're going into proclamations. Leighton, I think you're going to lead us off.
Thank you, Mayor. It's a good day to be a Princeton resident. Tonight is a very special night for Mayor, Council, and all of the citizens of Princeton. We do not consider it robbery that we take time, pause, and say thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for caring. Thank you for making our everyday lives better in the critical areas that until we need them are often taken for granted. Tonight we honor Keith Wood and Sergeant Thomas Murray, 2 exemplary public servants. They are both Princeton proud, native sons, and we are filled completely with gratitude for the legacy they both leave behind. In the proclamations that follow, we ask the public to give a careful listen, not so much to the whereases, but to what is behind them. Thank you. Our first proclamation tonight will be a proclamation from the office of the mayor of Princeton on behalf of Mr. Keith Wood. It reads as follows. Whereas Keith Wood was born and raised in Princeton, New Jersey, and whereas Keith faithfully served the United States Armed Forces and achieved the rank of sergeant in the U.S. Marine Corps as an aviation mechanized supply from 1978 until 1982, and was honorably discharged. And whereas he re-enlisted in the U.S. Marine Corps Active Reserve in 1991, serving until 1993, before being honorably discharged a second time. And
whereas Keith never refers to himself as an ex-Marine, but as a Marine, and is a valued teammate that is never about any foolishness. And when Keith is on the job, he is on the job. And whereas Keith started his employment with the municipality of Princeton on September 28, 1998, as a sewer maintenance person, second class, and whereas he received his C2 collection license on August 4, 1998, and his C3 collection license on July 30th, 2002, and
whereas Keith was promoted to the position of foreman on January 18th, 2010, and has masterfully served in that capacity for over the past 12 years. And whereas in his time with the municipality of Princeton Sewer Department, Keith and his crew have had direct and indirect impact on the sustainability and quality of life for all residents. And whereas during this time, Keith had monitored the inflow and infiltration of the sewer pipes for sanitary sewer and stormwater overflow. And
whereas he has mastered the use of robotics and underground cameras to inspect, evaluate, and repair Princeton's underground infrastructure. And whereas he has inspected grease traps over the entire town of Princeton, installed entire sewer systems, and repaired breaks in sewer lines. And
whereas he has responded to storm and weather disasters and provided an essential service that impacts our infrastructure and environment. And whereas he has touched and made a difference in each and every household in Princeton. And
whereas over his years of service, he has been a reliable, exemplary leader and employee. He rarely takes a day off, or he rarely took a day off or called in sick. And whereas he is consistently helpful to others as a great teacher, teammate, and honorable friend. And
whereas for many years, he has been a sponsor for Alcoholics Anonymous and has given generously of his time to help others rebuild their lives. And whereas, without being asked or assigned, Keith Wood stepped in and stepped up to provide timely leadership and direction to the Sewer Operations Department and helped to guide the department through a difficult and challenging period. Now, therefore, with great enthusiasm, applause, acknowledgement, and heartfelt thanks, Princeton's mayor, members of Princeton Council, municipal staff, and the citizens of Princeton wish to thank and acknowledge Keith Wood's stellar career and contributions to the municipality of Princeton and wish him well in his retirement and future endeavors. We thank you, Keith Wood, for a job well done. Given under my hand and seal this 25th day of July, 2022, Mark Frieda, Mayor. Thank you, Keith. Leighton, thank you for being the push behind having that proclamation generated.
My pleasure, Mayor.
Thank you. And David, now you were the power behind the next proclamation.
yes, although I do want to just preface reading it by saying that Sergeant Murray was really distraught that he wasn't able to attend the meeting tonight. He assures me that he will view the video tomorrow, but he had a previous engagement, and he really wanted to communicate to every member of council. You know, I assured him, though I mainly wrote this, that all of us have been talking for the last couple of months about what we can do to especially show our appreciation to Sergeant Murray. And he knows how much each of you care about him. So here goes. Proclamation, Office of the Mayor of Princeton. Whereas Sergeant Thomas Murray has served the police department and the Princeton community with unparalleled devotion for 31 years. And whereas Sergeant Murray has a lifelong connection to Princeton, having been born and raised in the community and having spent his entire professional career here. And whereas Sergeant Murray has headed up the Traffic Safety Bureau for 19 years, bringing his deep familiarity with traffic patterns and roadway conditions to the task of enhancing safety for all roadway users. And whereas during this time, Sergeant Murray has overseen the selection, training, and supervision of Princeton's school crossing guards, maintaining a perfect record of 0 crashes at guarded crossings during that entire period. And whereas Sergeant Murray has demonstrated an ongoing commitment to evidence-based policing and policymaking, collecting extensive data on the locations, times, and causes of crashes, and sharing that data with staff and elected officials to better inform engineering and legislative responses to improve safety. And whereas Sergeant Murray has always exhibited the courage of his convictions, sharing his expertise and insights without bias and without seeking to curry favor. Whereas, because of Sergeant Murray's commitment to the town of Princeton, jointly, Princeton Mayor and Council acknowledge his service to the town and his unceasing efforts to make Princeton a better place to live, work, do business, and raise a family. Now, therefore, with great enthusiasm, applause, acknowledgement, and heartfelt thanks, Princeton's mayor, members of Princeton Council, municipal staff, and the citizens of Princeton wish to thank and acknowledge Sergeant Thomas Murray's outstanding service to the municipality of Princeton and wish him well in his retirement and future endeavors. We thank you, Sergeant Thomas Murray, for a job well done. Given under the hand of the mayor and sealed this 25th day of July, 2022.
Thank you, David. So thank you to both Keith and Tom. And then I guess we'll make sure that they get the original of the proclamations. Okay. Why don't we move on to public comments for items not on the agenda? Again, this would be something that's not on the agenda. Any member from the public can just hit the raise hand symbol at the bottom of your screen on the Zoom screen, and you have 3 minutes and just say your name and address and talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. All right, so we have a couple of hands up already. Adam, could we bring in Joe Butler first?
Yes, Mayor.
Joe Butler, 18 Hibben Road. This actually is on the agenda. It was just one of the items you just covered. I'm sorry Sergeant Murray isn't present, but I do want to take a minute to congratulate him on his retirement and thank him for his exemplary service to our community. It was one of the honors of my years on council to work with Sergeant Murray on the consolidation transition and on the Traffic and Transportation Committee. I learned a lot from Sergeant Murray. He displayed infinite patience explaining the rules of the road to council and to the public. I was always pleased to attend a neighborhood meeting with Sergeant Murray because I could count on him to take everyone's concerns seriously, to be patient, to answer every question, and to respond to every comment with respect and kindness. His follow-up was always reliable, thorough, and prompt. You never had to ask twice. Sergeant Murray was a stickler for the rules, but he could explain every rule in a way that could be understood, even when we didn't agree. I appreciated his acknowledgement, understanding, and respect for my role, and I hope I showed the same for his. I will miss his friendly presence at parades, races, and other town events. I wish him all the best in his retirement and hope he won't be a stranger to Princeton. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Adam Lance Liverman is up next.
Okay, should be just a second.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, this is the retired council people's night. No, I just want to say I'm really honestly want to say, first of all, I echo what Joe said about Sergeant Murray. He was unbelievable and a great officer and a representative of Princeton. And also Keith Woods, who's retiring. I just want to say he was a great, he is a great guy and did a heck of a job. But I'm calling in because of the fire that we had at Princeton Shopping Center with the a trash truck that caught on fire. And I just wanted to say, because as you know, and I've said this, I think in Mark's Facebook page, I was like the second person on the scene. And I can tell you that the fire department, the rescue department, and everyone did such a terrific job that I can't tell you how proud I am to be a resident of Princeton, New Jersey. They cared about life. They cared about the shopping center structure, and they did such a remarkable job. And I just wanted to call and say that we are proud to have them. And whatever way that we can show thank you for all the things that they do, I think that we should. That's all. I have no confrontation tonight. So thank you.
Lance, thank you very much. All right. Anyone else have a comment either directed towards Keith Wood or Tom Murray or something not on the agenda? All right. Seeing no other hands up, we'll close that portion of the meeting and we'll go to a public hearing on ordinance 2022-21. Bond ordinance providing for the replacement of the cooling tower and circulator motors at the library in and by Princeton in the county of Mercer, New Jersey, appropriating $388,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $368,600 bonds or notes of Princeton to finance part of the cost thereof. Is there a motion? Eve gets the motion. Mia gets the second. And questions, comments by council before we go to the public? David?
Yeah, I just want to share that I had requested a life cycle cost analysis and then also a life cycle carbon emissions analysis for this equipment in order to feel comfortable voting for the bond ordinance. And I was super pleased to receive what I think is really an exemplary analysis that was done by the library's engineer. If it was not attached to the agenda, because it was a little bit late breaking, please just reach out. We'll get you a copy if you're interested, because it really did a great job of looking at, first costs, maintenance costs, operational costs, and I learned that to do the top of the line would have a 109-year payback period. So that's a little bit longer than what we want to invest in, even though it would have saved a little bit of carbon emissions. But this is something that several of us on council really want to start to make a standard piece of the procurement process for any expensive and energy consuming piece of equipment. It can be for components of the fleet, can be for infrastructure for our buildings and so on and so forth. But I think that it really behooves council to think about the whole life of an investment rather than just the first costs. That's how you make smart investments. And so I want to thank the library for leading the way and helping us get started on that path.
Thank you, David. Leighton?
Thanks, Mayor. I just want to follow up on what David just said. I too got the late breaking report early this afternoon and read through it well. And I was quite frankly a little amazed because I normally do not interpret and understand highly technical information, but I found this very comprehensive, very thorough, and written on such a level that even I could come away understanding the expenditure. And as you said, David, $250,000 is a lot of money, but it was well done. It showed the options. It showed the reasons why the selection that was selected was the one to go with. And again, if any of the public would like to see it, I think it would be very meaningful to look at it so you would understand that the cost is necessary and all the homework has been done to ensure that we made the right decision in a meaningful way. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Leighton. Any other council? Oh, Mia? Sorry.
I just wanted to also thank the library for all the work they put into that memo and the other information on this. And, it's helpful when our community partners provide information that we can then share with the public so they know exactly what we're spending and all of the details, and it makes our work easier. So thank you so much to the library for putting in the effort to provide all of this supporting information. That's all.
Thanks, Mia. Eve, I think you had your real hand up before your little symbol hand. So we'll go to you and then Leticia will be next.
Thanks. I really just want to echo what's already been said. I really appreciate the library staff, going the extra mile to provide the information so that everybody feels comfortable with what is honestly a large expenditure, and we should feel comfortable that the money is well spent and understand what it's for. And that goes, as David was saying, for all types of purchases. So, but yeah, really appreciate that and thank them for their patience and cooperation and partnership.
Thanks, Eve. Leticia.
Yes, I just want to echo what others have said, and also especially because I actually missed the meeting when this was first introduced. And so I truly appreciated having all this very comprehensive data that I may have missed. I don't know if there were what the questions were that were made when it was first introduced and what was provided, but I truly appreciated having it for today, and appreciate all the work that went into it.
Thank you. Michelle.
Just to add on to thank Eve for helping gather not only this information, but it's really important. I think the Finance Committee especially is looking at, capital planning 5, years out and more. And so that's something that, we're going to work, more to really understand and have a handle on, so that it's always part of our budget and we look and see what the expenditures are going to be down the road. So I really appreciate your liaison work, Eve, and working together with us. So it's great. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right. And we're done with council comments and questions for the moment. All right. Members of the public, anyone from the public that wants to comment on this ordinance? All right. I don't see. Oh, no, there's a hand. Okay. Adam, did you bring Kim in?
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. It's really important for our community.
Thanks, Kim. Quick and to the point. Very nice.
Thank you, Kim.
Thanks, Kim.
Yeah, having working air conditioning in a building that's one of our cooling centers and in a building that a lot of people go to that we happen to own is probably a good idea. Okay. Dolores, could we do a roll call vote on this, please?
Yes. Ms. Perron Ambrose,
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs,
Yes.
Mr. Newland.
Yes.
Okay, ordinance passes. Thank you all very much. And thank you to the members of the public that came specifically for this item. Feel free to hang around or feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening elsewhere. Moving on to resolutions. 22-248, resolution amending 2022 schedule of meetings for the mayor and council of Princeton, carried over from the July 11th, 2022 meeting. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Leticia. David has the second. Any questions or comments? This is the resolution where we go back to in-person meetings as of September 12th. And we are going to try to make technology available so that there's a Zoom component for each and every meeting. But the meetings are primarily noticed as in-person So if there's a technology problem, the meeting will still continue live and in person. But our goal is to provide it both ways throughout the rest of the year. Yes, Eve.
Just a very quick comment that as part of this discussion, we did talk with our health officer about, what the criteria might be if, COVID or monkeypox or whatever the next plague is, is out of control. We have a known procedure in place to, have an emergency switch to a virtual meeting, which hopefully we won't have to implement, but just that has been part of the process of thinking that through. So, and as the mayor said, well, he didn't say this specifically, but we had a trial run through of the technology. Everything looked and sounded good. And yeah, so hope that, we'll be able to accommodate both those who wish to be in person and those who would prefer to do this from a state of undress in the privacy of their own home.
Thank you, Eve. Any other council comments before we call for a vote on this? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, that's everybody. Thank you very much. 22-254, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the purchase of 8 recycled rubber speed cushions for traffic calming on Edgehill Street and Hibben Road at a not to exceed cost of $13,728 using Sourcewell contract number 070821-LGX. Is there, Michelle's got the motion. Is there a second? Eve's got the second. Questions? Michelle?
Yeah, sorry. My dog's very enthusiastic about this
There you go.
traffic calming situation. That's something I'm not going to miss when we go in person, is having the dogs in the background. So Jim, since you're on the call, I just want to ask, and I'm real happy to see this. I have to say my GPS told me to go down Edgehill the other day, and there's no reason for me to go down Edgehill. And I know that this is happening a lot. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that portion of it. But one thing I was wondering is, I think it said somewhere in here that there's a weight limit in terms of the trucks.
Okay.
Yeah. So is there signage? Is that something that's anticipated as well? I mean, obviously, they're going to want to slow down. They're not going to, once they've gone down the road with the speed bumps. But is there signage also to prevent it? And do we have to do anything like we did with Holden Avenue?
Signage already exists.
Okay.
Perhaps if you drove down Edgehill, you might or might not have seen it. And that seems to be a problem because it's there and it's ignored. It is a 4-ton weight limit on Mercer, on Edgehill, and on Hibben. And trucks routinely ignore it. We've had discussions with the Traffic Safety Bureau, and they are patrolling to stop trucks as they see them. So
Excellent.
that is part of the solution.
Okay.
You do have a memo explaining it all in your packet. I do want to add something to that memo. You'll note that it does say that back in 2019, we looked at 10 different streets. The reason that Edgehill and Hibben are being implemented now, beyond the fact that it is experiencing excessive traffic, is that those were the top 2, even back in 2019. So as you can see, they're not inexpensive cushions. There is also a need for us to remove them in the winter so that snowplows can come through. So there's a maintenance component to it, but our DPW knows how to install them, maintain them, remove them when it's necessary, and put them back.
Okay.
So that's another part that was not detailed in the memo.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Jim. Eve, is your hand up? Okay, I wasn't sure if that was from before or not. Sorry. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. And thanks, Jim, for that. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a broader context for that because, back in 2019, which seems like about 10,000 years ago, there was a data-driven list of the streets that needed traffic calming. And so and then of course, COVID, and for a while, people weren't going anywhere. And then, there were other issues but I'm really glad to see this as a first step. And I hope as we go on, I don't know about this year, but certainly next year, we start addressing some of the other streets that also were in that top 10 list for traffic calming. We'll see how this works, but certainly other places where we've done this, for example, on John Street, it really has gotten the desired result, at least in part, as the mayor was alluding, and I think, and as Mr. Purcell said in his memo, the key thing is to change people's behavior, which is hard, and we're working on ways to encourage people to behave in the proper ways, and this is one of them. So thank you to Jim and the rest of the engineering department for this, and hopefully this is the first of several steps in this direction. Thanks.
Thanks, Eve. David.
Maybe this is a little bit too much information, but I just wanted to add that the data-driven study that was done was really based on hundreds of hours of placement of speed monitoring signs, the variable message signs that we have that tell you how fast you're going. Those record that data. And so there were hundreds of hours of data collected all over town to see which streets had the most flagrant disregard, where drivers had the most flagrant disregard for speed limits and stuff like that. So that's the data when Ms. Niedergang referred to it being data-driven.
Thank you, David. I see we have a hand up, so before we vote, Adam, could you bring Joe Butler in?
Yes, Mayor.
Joe Butler, 18 Hibben Road. I have a question. So they're seasonal, these cushions are seasonal. Are they also temporary, or is this for the rest of our lives? We're going to have these cushions, or then will there be, if this appears to be working, then will there be a permanent solution, or will it always be this kind of coming and going?
No, they are temporary, and if they work, then we will plan to do something more permanent. We did the same on John Street, where I believe that, and this is before my time, but I think we did a temporary solution there, and then eventually put in the permanent speed bumps. So we'll monitor the situation during the time when they're in place, and determine whether or not we have to take a more permanent action in the future.
And then I have a question about the placement according to the plan. How did you decide where you would put them? Like, why is it not a little closer to the corner? Do they have to be a certain distance apart to be effective? What can you tell me?
Yes, Joe, they do have to be a certain distance apart to be effective, but particularly on which one has a curve on it. The decision was made based on engineering and based on consultation with Tom Murray as our Traffic Safety Bureau traffic safety officer, to determine the most effective places for them. We also need to make sure that they're not, there are a lot of parameters that go into it, including where are people's driveways, that's kind of what I was
curious about. And I was curious about that because as you could move it down a little bit further away from my house, my neighbor's house. I'm just wondering whether you expect noise from the speed cushion that we get off the speed bump on Mercer Street. You know, when trucks and things go over that they're noisy. And so that's kind of my question about whether we would expect that with the cushion and whether that would change the placement of it.
In theory, there'll be a lot less trucks because the police department's now going to pay extra attention to enforcing the 4-ton limit. So yeah, right. Hopefully that helps.
Well, yeah, but you just come on over. It doesn't stop. And also these are supposed to be, I don't know if these are the sorts of cushions that the emergency vehicles can straddle,
That's correct.
So if an emergency vehicle can straddle them, couldn't also some of the nice trucks that come up and down our road now also straddle them?
They shouldn't have the same distance between wheels that our fire trucks have. The distance between the openings and the cushions are specifically for the distance between the wheels and the fire trucks. Most 18-wheelers, and hopefully you're not seeing 18-wheelers, but trucks have the same sort of wheelbase that most motor vehicles have. So they shouldn't be able to straddle it like our emergency vehicles do.
And is there, to the question of whether they're quieter or not than the humps, is that a thing?
I don't know the answer to that, Joe. I'd be happy to talk to you about it in more detail if you want to call me
We'll
tomorrow,
see.
and I'll look it up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Joe. David.
I just wanted to pipe in that one of the benefits of having them be temporary is we can also see whether they don't work. And there are other interventions that can be tried if the speed humps are not effective. And I suppose one of the ways in which they could not work is if they're really noisy. So I just wanted to hold that out as this should be the beginning of a process of solving the problems, not necessarily the end.
Yep. Thank you. Michelle.
I'm sorry, this might be a silly question, but could we reuse them? So if they work or don't work in one place, then we would reuse them and try it in another place and then either build a speed bump. So it would be a cost-effective beta test for it. And I'm seeing,
4 of these are reused.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
and
Yeah.
I'm not in traffic, so I'm sorry, I don't have all the background. So
Yeah. they can be
I
reused.
hadn't really thought it through when I read
We
the,
currently, Councilwoman Lambros, we currently have 4 that we own.
Okay.
We're buying 8 more. The
Okay.
4 that we own were used on Bank Street, and they're in good condition, so we're reusing them here. So it will be the same situation. We will now have 12 that we can reuse elsewhere in town if we need to.
okay. And then what's a performance indicator? I mean, how do we know if it's working? Is it anecdotal? Do we have by ticketing? I mean, by just what people say in terms of the volume?
Well,
Just slow
we-
down and maybe keep people from cutting through. Like once your GPS, the GPSs keep sending you down Edgehill and Hibben. And once people see like, oh, it's really slow and windy and there's speed bumps, maybe they'll stop using it. But what's the performance indicator for that?
we will have to set up a program where we're doing speed monitoring and traffic counting.
Got it.
So we get them in, and once school opens up again, we will put out traffic monitors and speed detectors.
Okay. All right. I have one more question. How much does it cost to put a permanent speed bump? Roughly. Am I
Put me
putting-
on the spot.
It depends if it's part of a larger roadway project too.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard to say.
Okay. All right.
It is hard to say, yeah.
Just curious. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other council questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. 22-255, resolution of Mayor and Council of Princeton to submit a fiscal year 2023 grant application and execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Alexander Street, Dickinson Street, University Place Municipal Aid Project. Project number 2023-MA-00310. Thank you, Eve. Is there a second? Thank you, David. Questions or comments on this resolution? David?
I guess just maybe Jim again could comment, where in the process are we with taking this vote tonight? This is a vote to go ahead and apply and support the application for the grant funding, or?
The application has been submitted. It requires a resolution in order for it to be accepted fully by NJDOT. The deadline was July 1st, so we got them in as quickly as possible, but they will not process them without council resolutions and support. For the project that we're discussing right now, Dickinson Street is nearly completed in design. We need to add in the resurfacing of Alexander and University Place to the project as we move forward.
Thank you, Jim. Eve.
I just wanted to thank Jim and the rest of the staff for finding these grant opportunities for us. You know, these projects are enormously expensive, and you know, a few $100,000 here, as Michelle mentioned earlier, a grant that we got through really her contact with Bonnie Watson Coleman and working with the staff, and then this really makes a difference to our taxpayers. So thank you so much for, you know, seeking out these opportunities and getting through the paperwork that needs to be processed so that we're eligible for this. It's really appreciated.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, that's everybody. 22-256, resolution of mayor and council of Princeton to submit a fiscal year 2023 grant application and execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Cherry Hill Road Shared Use Pathway Project, project number 2023-BIKE-00015. Is there a, Leighton, thank you very much. Is there a second? Michelle, thank you. Questions, comments on the motion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Everybody. All right, 22-257, resolution of mayor and council of Princeton to submit a fiscal year 2023 grant application and execute a grant agreement with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the Terhune Road Safe Streets to Transit Project, project number 2023-SST-00041. Is there a motion? Thank you, David. Is there a second? Michelle's got the second. And if my calculations are right, Jim, we're between the three of these, we're trying to get about $2.4 million worth of grant money.
Yes.
There you go. Important little detail to make sure the listening public gets or hears. David and then Eve.
Yeah, I just have a question regarding the Safe Routes to Transit. I know that we pursued a federal grant for this same or a similar project last year, which we were not successful. I'm curious whether there's new information, new conditions on the ground that, or is it just a different granting authority and therefore we have hope that we'll get it one place that we didn't get it the other place?
The different conditions are on the ground are that we are under construction for 221 units of housing, along with an 80-unit apartment complex for the seniors in the community. And we have the other housing developments that are either approved at the shopping center or in the process. And the hub, the transit hub, is the shopping center. We have our own municipal bus that uses the shopping center as a stop. We have 2 New Jersey Transit stops at there, and we are in discussions with New Jersey Transit about changing their routing so that they can go up Terhune and pick up in this area. We think this is a more powerful one than it was even a year ago, when a lot of what's on the ground today was just in concept.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks.
Any Eve?
I had the same question David did, so asked and answered.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right. All in favor of this resolution, please say aye.
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 All right, that's everybody. Resolution 22-258, resolution of mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the award of a contract to PMC Mechanical LLC for the emergency replacement of one air conditioning compressor at 400 Witherspoon Street in the amount of $30,000. Is there a, Michelle, thank you. David's got the second. Questions, comments on the resolution? David.
I just want to comment that I did not hold the Department of Public Works feet to the fire in the same way on this that I did for the library, but it is an emergency equipment replacement. This is broken down, so it really needs to be done. It really needs to be done quickly. But I do want to put DPW on notice that we're going to be looking to you for the exact same kind of analysis for replacements that are not emergency replacements. And we're also going to expect to have fewer emergency replacements and, do some advanced planning so that our equipment is replaced before it breaks down.
Right, and part of the advanced planning is then, if the advanced planning is done, then the advanced or at the time funding needs to be provided
Yeah.
when it's asked for.
And by the way, there is a study that is part of this proposal, as I read the materials, that there is going to be some schematic design done for upgrades for the entire system to come. So they are aware that we're looking for that. They're thinking in those terms as well.
Thank you, David. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the resolution, please say aye.
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 Okay, thank you. 22-259, resolution of the mayor and council of Princeton authorizing the submission of the 2022 Community Development Block Grant Program Annual Action Plan. Is it Leticia? Thank you. Is there a second? Eve, thank you. Any questions or comments? Eve?
Yeah, I see Mark Leckington is here with us. Hi, Mark. I have had some email communications with you, but I don't think we've met. And I know that Leighton, who works with our Affordable Housing Board, wanted to speak. And my kind of angle on this is through the Princeton Senior Resource Center, where really, since I've been liaison pretty shortly before the pandemic, or maybe after, I can't even keep track of things now, the need to get our communities in need in affordable housing online. It's just been one frustration after another. And I think I heard somebody quote you as saying that this was possibly the most difficult thing you had done in your professional life. I hope I'm not exaggerating, but I guess I wanted to just is this the light at the end of the tunnel? Assuming this money comes through, are we actually going to be able to provide to our affordable housing complexes actual internet service for all, which that this is the goal. I hope. Would love to hear from you.
Yeah, we're very hopeful, and that is an accurate assessment of the project. This has been a moving target from the beginning. HUD released these CARES Act funds that encouraged communities to do creative things and try to break down the digital divide, as kids were homeschooling and as seniors were using telehealth as their only medical option during COVID. So the encouragement and Leighton's encouragement and a lot of the need from the public, it actually, through our public hearings, we heard from people saying that this was a very sorely needed. It's been a challenge, though. HUD has issued guidance that changed our allowable use of the funds and forced us to alter our approach to addressing the problem. But I think with a meeting that we had very recently, I think we have a path forward. I can't say for certain that this is, we still have a ways to go. We have another revision to the bid package to do. This will probably be our third or possibly even fourth iteration of the bid package. But we are optimistic. And that's the best that I can tell you at this point.
Okay, well, one quick follow-up. Assuming, the gods are smiling and everything works out perfectly, when might we see installation of the network? Is this 2023? Would it be longer than that?
I would think,
hold you to it. I'm just sort of, yeah.
Yeah, certainly not going to be subject to the typical public works project where the asphalt plants are going to close at a certain time. I mean, this is work that can be done year round. And I think if we can get a bid package finalized and on the streets within the next 30 to 45 days, I would not be surprised if we saw construction start before the end of the year.
Thank you so much. And thank you also for your hard work and perseverance on this.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Leighton, did you have your hand up before?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Mark Lexington for all the work and for all the gyrations that he's had to go through many months. And I just wanted to just kind of reference to what my colleague Eve was speaking towards, and that is that, the Housing Authority, all of this is very fluid moving, and HUD has a way of sometimes changing the rules in the middle of the game for you. So it has been very challenging, but rest assured that the Housing Authority has many needs, and however this should bend and turn, we certainly have a very, very, very extremely capable board with capable leadership, and we will be able to do something that helps our residents at the end of the day with these funds, even if we have to change direction for one reason or another. Thank you.
Thanks, Leighton. Thanks, Eve. Anything else for Mark while he's here? And I think, Mark, it's safe to say without your help, we would be nowhere on these grant applications. So
You've got a very capable staff, and it's a pleasure to work with the council and your professionals. It makes it very easy.
thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Mark, thank you Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, 22-260, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing agreement with Neighbors Kindness Project for temporary use of a portion of 237 North Harrison Street for the free store Tienda Gratis. And I don't know, Leticia, I'm not sure whose hand was up first. I was looking down, but Leticia gets the motion, Michelle gets the second. Questions or comments on Leticia?
Yes, I just want to say this is, I'm so happy to see that we're working, even though the resolution states that it's temporary, but that we are going to be able to provide a space for the free store in this tienda gratis for them to operate. I don't know if others have noticed that during the time that they were been operating out of the Franklin lot, it was out of a storage container, exposed to all kinds of weather, extreme cold, extreme heat. So I'm very happy to see that we'll be able to provide them with a space that will bring them out of those harsh elements, and hopefully also highlight the need for them to have a more permanent.
Can anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Leticia
I
froze.
had a flicker, a very temporary power outage. I'm guessing the people we lost had a more permanent power loss.
Understood.
Wow.
Guess
Yeah.
that's why we're talking about going back in person, right?
Yeah. Wow, there's a first for everything. Wow, I think we've lost.
I think people are going off and coming back on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hopefully they can get back on.
they can get back on their cell phones, if anything.
But that's true.
Hmm.
Did anyone feel like me today with 88 degrees, want to put a sweater on?
No,
So it
Leighton,
wasn't
Not-
just
not
me
for a
that lost
moment.
internet.
Yeah.
It
It
was
was-
Mark
Did
as
others
well.
lose internet as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
those
Yeah.
of us who were on did
Yeah.
not lose it, but we had a flicker. And
Okay.
the others who are
Yes.
missing, we
So
assumed did.
my internet went down.
Yeah, but you're
Yeah,
not.
I'm actually having to use my hotspot because my internet went down.
Yeah.
We lost the mayor and Bernie
And Eve.
and Eve, yes.
Yeah.
It looks like all the.
Oh, and
attendants-
Mia too.
I didn't go off.
Oh, okay.
Bernie went off, but you didn't?
So
Oh, Mark went.
Bernie and
Okay.
there was a power blip and we lost, our computers went down. So sorry about that. I can't get mine to come back up. So Dolores gets to, she's the unfortunate winner of the Mark III Be Nice To contest.
That is a really localized power outage, I've got to say.
Yeah, really, 2 offices, my gosh. All right, anyway, I'm sorry, did we wrap up the discussion?
There's me about.
I think Letitia was still talking when she went out.
Yes.
Right.
But I basically said what I meant to say is that I'm hopeful that even though it's a temporary solution, that this highlights the need, and we could hopefully either us or working with community partners to find a permanent solution for them.
Yeah.
Okay, Leighton and then Michelle.
Yeah, I just want to say Blair Miller and her team are godsends to Princeton. And if you ride by there on any day that they're out there, there are many people that they service. And we're really blessed as a municipality to have her and her team to care so much about other people.
Thank you, Leighton. Michelle?
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much the same thing. Blair Miller's pretty amazing. And you've got, she's doing some great things for the community, McCaffrey's as well, where you can help anytime you go in McCaffrey's. And I just want to mention too that, we can find another location and maybe one that's maybe central, maybe more on the other side of town or both sides of town. Eventually, I don't think we're going to do anything with this property in the short term. So I think it's a good use of the property in the short term until our facilities analysis is done. And then we decide if we're going to use this for taxpayer relief or whatever we may do. But we certainly can find another home for this. I did want to ask a question though. We had a water leak. We had a pipe burst there. Is everything okay at this station now, I would imagine?
Yes, it's been repaired.
Okay.
This,
All right.
and this activity will take place upstairs. The water leak was broken pipe went into the downstairs of the building.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Great job. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you all. Any other comments or questions? All right. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. Brenton Mendes. 22.
I'm sorry, I got kicked off. What was that? What did we just?
We just approved the resolution to let the Neighborhood Kindness Project.
Oh, yes, I support that. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize we had lost you too. Okay, 22-261, resolution of Mayor and Council of Princeton awarding the 2022 tree removal project contract to Emma Goodnit, I'm not sure how to say that, LLC, doing business as Princeton Tree Care for not to exceed amount of $122,137. Is there a motion on that? Eve, thank you very much. David's got the second. Questions or comments on the tree contract? There was a letter, there's like 115 trees that are too big for us to handle. So, and these are, I forget which, anyway, whichever the tree disease was that this one was, we got to handle that. David and then Eve.
Is there any plan in place to replace the trees that get taken down?
There's, in the memo, it refers to that we'll try to do some with this year's tree planting project and look into also in the next coming years, but yes. Eve?
Just to give some context, as you said, Mayor, most of the trees being taken down are ash trees, which have been subject to the EAB or emerald ash borer, which has taken a terrible toll, and it certainly underlines why a diversity of tree species is necessary. In that, for example, on Witherspoon Street, as beautiful as the Bradford pears, an invasive species, but I won't say that too loudly, we don't want a monoculture. We want, a couple of this and a couple of that. Maybe we want to have the same beauty as in everything going into flower at the same time, but over the course of many months, you'll have more diversity, a longer flowering season, and also more protection because the emerald ash borer, the spotted lanternfly, bacterial leaf scorch for the oaks, this is a part of climate change and the global, world that we live in. So we can expect to see more of these. In the case of the emerald ash borer and the ash trees, it's just taken an absolutely terrible toll on our tree canopy, and then also on our pocketbooks, because once the trees die, the ash tend to be very tall. A lot of them are near roads. Like, you don't want them coming down on you, so we need to take action to take them down. And the cost of that, I mean, this is a much larger tree removal contract than I think we saw a few years ago, and I think unfortunately that's going to continue. So something that we need to be aware as we move forward is the budgets for these type of climate related expenses are going to go up in this way as well, in addition to flooding and all the other things like that. So just wanted to give some broader context.
Yeah, thank you, Ethan. Any other questions or comments? Leighton?
You're muted.
Yeah, Mayor, I would just say that the lowest bid was significantly lower than the second lowest and a whole lot lower than the highest bid. So at least we were able to save at least some money based on the bids.
Yep. Thank you, Leighton. David?
And I will also take this opportunity to share that when we invest to prevent damage associated with climate change, we usually save, it's about on the order of $6. There's a FEMA study that says for every dollar you invest, you save $6 in costs that you would have incurred if you didn't. And Eve really, was making reference to that. If we did not take these trees down, the damage that would be done could be much, much more expensive than the cost of taking the trees down.
All right. Anything else? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you very much. All right, the consent agenda is next. And again, I just want to point out the correction to number 16, that should have been $3,717.54 and not $13,717.54. And if no one has any request to remove anything from the consent agenda, someone could move the entire consent agenda. Michelle, thank you. Is there a second on that? Leighton, thank you. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Okay. Tremendous. David?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second? Eve, thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, everybody.
Is this a record? 8:13.
We've done it faster than this.
Yeah, we have.
But not often, not often.
Not often. All right, everybody have a good.
Thank you all.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Night.
Good night.
Thanks, Dolores. Thanks,